Daily Rituals: How Artists Work by Mason Currey is not a conventional narrative, it's a collage, a patchwork of stories gathered from the lives of 161 creators. But within that structure, it becomes something deeper than trivia, a quiet meditation on perseverance. On how people who made lasting work, art, music, literature, invention, showed up every single day, often under chaotic, imperfect, or downright strange conditions. There is no single method. But there is a consistent truth: they kept going. The book begins with a tension many creators will recognize: the romantic myth of the tortured genius versus the unglamorous grind of real work. Currey dismantles that myth not by argument but by example. He invites us into the ordinary, stubborn routines that artists use to survive and produce. The message is clear from the start: what matters is not when or how you do it, but that you do it at all. You meet Beethoven obsessively counting out coffee beans for his morning brew before composing. You follow Simone de Beauvoir's long morning writing sessions, structured as much by discipline as by cigarettes and café visits. The book peels away the aura of genius and replaces it with something more human: patterns, rituals, superstitions, minor addictions, odd constraints. What links these disparate stories is not brilliance. It's the choice to work daily in spite of distraction, self-doubt, or depression. There is something strangely comforting in the pettiness of these details. Igor Stravinsky would do headstands to clear his mind. Franz Kafka wrote late into the night after working full days at an insurance office. Gertrude Stein preferred writing only for 30 minutes at a time while watching cows. These aren't the habits of gods. They're the messy, contradictory rituals of people trying to carve out creative space in their lives. Currey doesn't analyze or editorialize. He presents the facts plainly, letting the reader do the connecting. And yet a rhythm begins to emerge: structure enables freedom. Many of the artists profiled found freedom in predictability. They ate the same breakfast, walked the same paths, lit the same pipe. These repetitive acts weren't boring, they were scaffolding. A way to reduce life's noise so the creative part of them could come forward. The book also quietly exposes the labor behind great work. It doesn't shy away from the less romantic parts: the anxiety, the drugs, the alcohol, the exhaustion. Charles Dickens took long, fast walks after writing to settle his nerves. Patricia Highsmith kept pet snails and wrote with gin and sugar. Tchaikovsky wouldn't leave the house until he'd walked for exactly 2 hours. These are strange, beautiful habits, but they're also shields. Shields against chaos, against the inner critic, against the paralysis of having too many choices. Among the most powerful insights is how deeply personal each routine is. There is no universal formula. What works for one person would destroy another. Throughout the book, you start to see a kind of companionship across time. Artists talking to each other not directly, but through routine. You begin to realize that making a life for your work is its own creative act. That the conditions for art are themselves an art form. The way you wake, the way you sit, the coffee you drink, the walks you take, these are part of the piece. Not before it. Within it. For readers who feel blocked or discouraged, Daily Rituals offers quiet relief. Not advice, but a chorus of lived examples. It reminds you that all creators struggle. That many of the works we now admire were produced in rented rooms, after work hours, in stolen mornings or drug-fueled nights. The rituals don't guarantee brilliance, but they do protect the possibility of making. And yet the book also shows how fragile these rituals can be. Illness, war, heartbreak, poverty, all interrupted the rhythms. Some artists adapted. Others never recovered. The fragility of routine becomes its own lesson: build while you can. Protect your time not because it's convenient, but because it won't always be available. What makes the book resonate is its refusal to idealize. It never says, "This is how to be great." It says, "This is how they did it." That honesty makes it more than a curiosity, it becomes a record of resilience. You don't read it to find out how to write better or paint faster. You read it to remember that what you're doing, sitting down, making time, returning to the work, is part of a long lineage. As the pages go on, your awe for the dailiness of art grows. The struggle is less about talent and more about architecture, building days that support creativity. Sometimes that's done with monk-like discipline. Other times it's chaos barely held together. But in both cases, the artist is engaged in a quiet act of rebellion, making time for something no one asked for but that the world quietly needs. By the end of the book, you feel surrounded. Not by experts or masters, but by people who, like you, faced blank pages, unmade beds, rent deadlines, and fatigue, and made something anyway. That's the real takeaway. Not their genius, but their determination. Not their results, but their rituals. Daily Rituals doesn't tell you how to live. It shows you how others tried. And in their trying, you find yourself reflected, uncertain, hopeful, stubborn. Still showing up. Still making time. Still going.